Man, this has been quite the journey. But what I'll say is, regardless of how we might feel about something that we're being called to, even something that we might choose to do and want to do on our own, I think what's most important is not that fear comes up or that we get nervous or that we may not have it all figured out. I think what is most important is to say yes anyway. If this is your first time joining me, welcome to the Girl Just Feel podcast, where faith meets mental health and healing starts with feeling your feelings. I'm your host, Dr. Ajane Gaylord, and this is my first video. And I'm absolutely terrified to be on camera. So let me explain. I know you're saying, okay, I just clicked on your video. I'm watching you. You're clearly out here in the public. Why would you be afraid? Well, honestly, when I started the podcast, which I've gone through a name change, I don't know if you noticed, but I used to be called the Experience Freedom Podcast. And I kind of felt led to adjust the name to better reflect actually what I'm going to be talking about. And at the end of 2023, after 2 seasons of my, very humble beginnings, I decided to take a pause. I felt like it was the right time for me to pause and kind of recalibrate. I thought it was because I was finishing up my PhD program and I wouldn't have time. And because my husband and I have a business, I would be too busy. And I just felt the nudge from the Lord to pause, not to stop, not to quit, but to pause. But honestly, I was totally confused. I was confused because, number one, it had already taken me over 2 years to start to begin with, because I was so afraid and I had so much going on mentally and emotionally that I just felt that, I couldn't put myself out there, put myself out in the public. So a friend of mine came to me and said, "Hey, I feel like you're supposed to be doing this." Long story short, agreed. And I was like, yeah, I kind of been feeling like the Lord's nudging me in that way, but I kind of been nervous. And so she volunteered to help in any way she could. And we ended up just meeting on Zoom and recording the podcast. And that's how the Experience Freedom podcast was born. We did those 2 seasons together. Sometimes you would hear her on the podcast and sometimes not. But it gave me a little bit of bravery because I had a friend who was doing it alongside me, and I did it. And then I heard pause, and that didn't make sense to me because I had just gotten a little bit of courage to do what I had done, but I obeyed what I thought I was hearing from the Lord. And I took the pause. And then recently I sensed it was time to relaunch, but not just to relaunch on audio, but to start doing video too. Now that really freaked me out. that really got me because now I have to show up on camera. I was already afraid to turn on the microphone. And now I have to stare into a blank little black hole trying to convince you to listen to me and see me. Man, this has been quite the journey. But what I'll say is, regardless of how we might feel about something that we're being called to, even something that we might choose to do and want to do on our own, I think what's most important is not that fear comes up or that we get nervous or that we may not have it all figured out. I think what is most important is to say yes anyway. So that's what I'm doing. I'm saying yes, even though in this moment and seconds before I turned the camera on for a 5th time trying to record this very first episode, I was in tears. Why? Because so much of what has brought me to this point and what has kept me from showing up sooner came flooding to the surface. The fear, the perfectionism, all the things that tend to hold us back from the very things that we're called and created to do. I'm coming face to face with those. So trying to figure out what to say, trying not to sound unintelligent, trying to make sure that the camera looks right and the lighting is okay, and that I've prepared well enough so that I don't sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. So I don't know if you can relate to what I'm sharing about my own journey just to show up for this. Most people, I mean, we live in the social media era where everything is about the highlight reel and what you see is only the good stuff. But that's not life. That is not how it really is. So, even in preparing to show up today and share this message and explain what this podcast is going to be about, why I'm even showing up on camera is more important than even the temporary discomfort that I'm feeling from actually not even things that truly can interfere with what I'm supposed to be doing is what I'm telling myself about this experience, right? Telling myself, oh, I don't look good on camera, or telling myself, hey, my mic isn't right, or telling myself the background isn't quite what it should be, when really the idea is not for me to be worried about me in this moment. This is not about me. This is about you. This is about your healing. This is about your deliverance and your freedom. And that sounds like a bold statement coming from me because you have no idea who I am. You have no idea what I'm about to share. But if you stick with me, I'll begin to disclose more and more of what I believe is the message that God has anointed me to share with the world. And that is a message of healing. That is a message of freedom and recovery and deliverance. And not in a weird kind of way, not in a I'm the expert, but honestly, this is not me being some kind of guru. And yes, I am a doctor. I earned my PhD. I have the credentials. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have all the training, all the skills. I'm an ordained minister, all the things, all the hats. Yes, I have them. But that's not the point. The point is more so that I am on the journey with you. I am showing up as myself. I am sharing my own story and my journey of healing, not because I've arrived, not because I haven't figured out, and not because my credentials give me any kind of, credit. It is truly because I want to show up as my authentic self because that's the only way any of us can show up and bless other people. So I've been terrified for years to finally launch, to finally open up my voice to the world, to a larger audience, to turn the camera on, check the mic, and show up. I've been terrified for many reasons. Some of those reasons have to do with a lot of what I'm going to share in the future about my own experiences, my childhood, the things I went through growing up. But mostly it has to do with the fact that I've counted myself out. No one else has done that. That's been me. So if you're joining me for the very first time, hi, I'm Ajane. Welcome to the Girl Just Feel podcast, where faith meets mental health and healing starts with feeling your feelings. I'm your host, Dr. Ajane Gaylord, and I want to be honest about the fact that I was so scared to turn on this camera. And even today, right before I recorded this moment that we're in, I've already tried 15 times to get it right. I had to pause the camera and I was crying because I couldn't quite figure out how to connect with what I wanted to say. And I kept stopping myself. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? There are a lot of reasons, and we're going to talk about a lot of these reasons later in episodes to come. But what I want you to hear from me today is, regardless of how afraid you are to start, what's most important is the story that you tell yourself, because that's what's going to determine whether you actually take action or not. It isn't the absence of fear. It isn't the absence of nervousness. It is more about what you say to yourself when you feel nervous and when you feel afraid. Then it has to do with whether or not the fear, trepidation, or anxiety exists. So, why am I showing up on camera now? Why did I change the name of the podcast? Well, I'm glad you asked, and I'm going to tell you. One reason was I really felt a strong nudge to get the message that's in my heart out into the world. And if it were up to me as a perfectionist, self-proclaimed, professing perfectionist who wants to get everything right and put everything in order and have everything lined up, I would have waited until I felt more prepared. If it was about having enough time, I would wait until all of my children have graduated from homeschool. I'll tell you more about my four young adult children who are still living at home, who I homeschooled for over 20 years. And I would wait until they're all finished and all launched before I started. It would be about whether or not I had enough energy. I'll share even more about the fact that I, suffer from some chronic health symptoms. And one of those is fatigue. And so just sitting up today and recording for you takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy, and I don't always have enough. So why video? Why a podcast? Why audio? Why any of this? Because there's something that I believe God has given me to share. And if I stay silent, I will have to answer for all of you out there who will receive some measure of healing from the words that I share. So I'm choosing to face my fear. I'm choosing to look anxiety right in the face. I'm choosing to turn on my microphone and now turn on the camera and show up because that's what God is compelling me to do. I don't have all the answers. What it's more about is the testimony of my healing journey and sharing more of that with you, because my hope is that it will bring you a measure of healing. It will bring you some enlightenment. Maybe I'll share something that you haven't heard said in a way that I'll say it or share it before. And it really clicks this time when it comes to your healing journey. So why the name change? Well, I wanted to better align with exactly who I am and what the podcast is going to be about. And the more I begin to dig into what we're facing as believers in the body of Christ, especially when it comes to the mental health conversation, we say a lot, and there's a lot happening. Good things. A lot of these are good things. We have more language, we have more terminology, we have more awareness and knowledge than we ever have had before. But there's a lot of myths and misunderstandings when it comes to mental health, faith, the body of Christ, healing, wholeness, emotional wellness. And so I really feel like this podcast is about connecting to the things that we've often been disconnected from. And my goal with the Girl Just Feel podcast is to really just get to the point. Most of the time, while we struggle with the things we struggle with, while we have emotional issues, we have the physical health issues, we have the relational issues, all the things, right? Is because we're not integrated. We have compartmentalized who we are. We have church and prayer and faith over there. We have feelings and emotions and all that over there. We have our relationships over here, and we're so disconnected. And my goal with this podcast and with this platform is to be able to share biblical and psychological truth that can bring healing. So I'm showing up. You're going to see me in my raw, real, authentic self. I know in this day and age of social media and highlight reels, we show all the good stuff. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not just trying to show up looking polished and looking like a guru and like I have it all figured out, because I do not. I'm on a journey just like you. And I'm hoping that what I'm learning as I'm growing and healing can be a blessing to you too. So thank you for joining me. What can you look forward to? Hey, I'm glad you asked. You can look forward to us talking about emotions, what they actually are. Sneak peek. You cannot control your emotions any more than you can control your digestive system. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what the Bible has to say about emotions, how we have misunderstood even some things culturally, how we've been socialized to demonize emotions and not really to understand what they are and to embrace them. We're actually going to define what emotions actually are, because I think we don't really understand what they are, and talk about feelings, talk about wellness, integration. And I'm going to tell you a lot of my business and share some of my own stories with you. So this is us starting again, not starting over, just starting again with a new name and a new mission to bring healing to nations and generations. So I hope you'll join me. Next time, we will be talking a little bit more about this whole world of emotions. I like to give you life work. I don't like to call it homework because that can bring a negative connotation. I don't know how you feel about homework, but that wasn't my favorite thing. So I like to give you some work to do for life, and we'll do a lot of that as we go forward. So thank you for being with me. I look forward to this next season. Yeah, thanks.